Today we will discuss about the patterns of biodiversity. So already we have discussed what is biodiversity. Now today we will discuss what are the patterns of biodiversity, how we can study various patterns of biodiversity. Now next is the patterns of biodiversity. Now you know that biodiversity is not uniform throughout the world because two factors that affect biodiversity is the latitudinal gradient. If we go on for the latitude, this is 0 degree latitude, and towards the north 90 degree north, and this is the 90 degree south. And if we go on for the latitude, you will find that there are changes in the species diversity, and that is the latitudinal. Along with the gradient, there is changes in the species diversity, and that is the latitudinal gradient also plays an important role in species diversity. And another one is the species area relationship. So first of all, let us discuss about latitudinal gradient. So if we go on for the latitudinal gradient, surprisingly we will find that 0 degree, that is the equatorial region or this tropical region, they have the maximum diversity. Clear? They have the maximum diversity they find in the tropical region. Now there is an example like in Colombia, which is very near to equator. They have 1,400 of bird species, whereas New York, which is there is at 41 degree north, clear, in latitude, they have only 105 bird species. And Greenland, which is more far away from the equator, that is 71 degree north, very near to pole, it has only 56 species of birds. So you can see gradually as we are moving towards the pole from the equator, the species diversity is decreasing. So that is called, this is what we call latitudinal gradients. Now if we go on for the maximum species diversity, we'll find that maximum species diversity is found in the Amazonian rainforest in the South America. So here we have 40,000 plant species, 30,000 fishes, then 1,500 birds, 427 amphibians, right over 427 mammals, and 378 types of species of reptiles, and 1,25,000 species of invertebrates. So you can see a huge diversity is present in the Amazonian rainforest. Now, what is the reason why this latitudinal gradient, why we are going to pole, this species diversity is decreasing? If we go on for the reason, we'll find that number one, the temperate regions have been subjected to frequent glaciation. So several times there was glaciation in the temperate regions, and these frequent glaciation in the past where the tropical region remain undisturbed, and we know that for a evolution undisturbed time where they can grow, flourish, and then evolve. Now the next point is the temperate region. In temperate region, it is more seasonal. Clear? So it does not does not have a constant environmental condition, that is less constant. Here the environment is, the climatic condition as well as other condition are less constant, they are more seasonal. And as a result, we know that when we find a prolonged constant environment, or then there may be various micro environment may form, and which will be the most comfortable region for a particular type of organism, clear, to sustain. And we know, so there will be more niche specialization. More niche specialization, that means niche means the micro environment where an organism can live most comfortably, as well as the ecological role it plays. So if it is everything, that ecosystem remains constant, the climatic condition remain constant, then there may be various types of niche specialization that requires times and constant environment. But since it is in temperate region, it is more seasonal environmental condition, so this niche formation, niche specialization is very less, and as a result variation is also less. And the last one is known to everyone, that we know that in equator the sun, there is direct sun ray. Clear? There is no slanting sun ray. Sun ray falls directly on the equator, and so equator gets maximum sun rays. More solar sun rays means more solar energy. More energy means more flourishment of the organism, and more flourishment of the organism will lead to various diversification or evolution of this diversity. So equatorial places gets more solar energy to flourish, so that the living organism, because everything is living organism is related to energy. More the energy it will get, it will flourish more, and as a result, more they will flourish, they will have more variations also. Clear? So equator gets more energy for the flourishment, and which creates variation. So that is also another important factor for the more diversity in the equatorial region than on the polar. Another pattern of diversity is the altitudinal. You see, more obviously we all have seen that when we are going in a mountain, the base region have the more denser forest, then we move up. Clear? And as we move up, clear, the temperature decreases, and there is less variation of the organism. A particular organism which can, the particular type of organisms which can live on that particular temperature and altitude. Clear? So as a result, what we will find? We will find maximum diversity in the base region, and as we will move up in the mountain, we will this diversity, this range of diversity will become more and more less. So least diversity as we move upward, because we know as we move up, for every 1,000 meters there is 6.5 degrees Celsius fall in the temperature. So the lesser temperature, as we move up, more and more lesser temperature. Clear? And this and greater seasonal variation, that's lead to decrease in the biodiversity as we move up in the mountain. Another very interesting pattern for biodiversity was proposed by Alexander von Humboldt. So what he proposed? He proposed that the species area relationship. So German naturalist Alexander von Humboldt, he proposed species area relationship. Now when he was exploring the South American jungles, he found that the species richness increases. Clear? The species richness increases with the increase of area. So more area we explore, the species richness goes on increasing, but that up to a certain limit. So it is not that indefinitely it will go on increasing. As we explore more area, the species richness increases, but that up to a certain limit. Clear? After that, there is no such increase, remarkable increase in the species richness. Now, so suppose we have started from here. As we move outside, clear, at first we will find certain number of species. Gradually, if we move outside, we will find more number of species. More area we explore, we will get more. But after that, after a certain limit, we will not, after a certain period, we will not get any more remarkable richness or increase in the species, variety of species. So this is about species area relationship. Now, if we plot it in a curve, so what we will find, that here it is the area and here is the species richness. So if we plot it, we will find a rectangular hyperbola. Rectangular hyperbola where S is equal to CA square. Rectangular hyperbola where S is equal to CA square. That means when you are exploring this is the area. So as we are exploring more and more area, the species richness is also increasing here. But after a certain area, it's the slope, ultimately it forms a slope to a steady state. So that means there is no, the gradually it decreases, and finally there is no such remarkable increase in the species richness. Clear? So this and mind that this curve will start not from zero, as because there is no condition where the species is zero. So it will start the curve a bit away from the zero of x and y intercept. Now this is the curve when we are plotting the species and richness and the area. But if we put that in the log-log scale, we'll find a straight line. Clear? In log-log scale, if we put it in the log-log scale, we'll find a straight line where S is the, so what we are getting, log S is equal to log C plus Z log A. So log S is equal to log C plus Z log A. Now what this stands for? S stands for the species richness. Clear? Already we have discussed more the species. This is the species richness. Then the A is for area. Z is the slope line or regression coefficient. Z is the slope line or regression coefficient, and C is the y-intercept. So S is the species richness, A is the area, Z is the slope line or regression coefficient, and C is the y-intercept. So the equation comes like log S is equal to log C plus Z log A. Now species richness we understand easily. The area also we understand. Now the important factor is the slope of line or regression coefficient. Clear? Slope of line or regression coefficient. That means the, suppose it is given that the value of the Z line is generally 0.1 to 0.2. Clear? If the area is considered as a limited area, if the whole thing is considered in a limited area, the value of Z lies between 0.1 to 0.2, regardless of the taxonomic group. So be it maybe the plants of the Britain, or birds or California, or mollusks of New York State, the Z will be 0.1 to 0.2 when we are considering a limited area. But if we are increase the area, suppose we are going for a much larger area like the continent, clear, much larger area like that of the continent, clear, then we will find that a very large area, it will be 0.6 to 1.2. This value lies between 0.6 to 1.2. So you can see here, so it is 0.1 to 0.2 when the area is a limited one, but when the larger area, the slope becomes more and more steeper here, which may be 0.6 to 1.5. So you can see here, in larger area the slope becomes more and more steeper, clear, than which is there in the limited area. And so for numerous organisms, clear, for a wide variety of organisms like vascular plants, birds, and bats, freshwater fishes, this actually provides a hyperbolic curve. So this is about species area relationship. Now, what is the importance of this species diversity in ecosystem? How this diversity of the species affect ecosystem? David Tillman here has confirmed that communities, more big species tend to be more stable. Clear? So community with more species tend to be more stable, and this was confirmed by David Tillman. Now, characteristics of stable community. It should not, so there are various characteristics of a stable community. First of all, productivity, according to David Tillman, productivity, more the ecosystem with higher diversity produce clear are more productive than the ecosystem with less diversity. If we go on for the productivity, we'll find that it is more productive than that of the ecosystem with less diversity. David Tillman used outdoor plots, large outdoor plots, and confirmed that higher biodiversity leads to increased productivity. Now, another one is the stability. If you go on for the stability, he also showed that this very little variation in yearly total biomass is there if the ecosystem is very rich in species diversity. But so there will be very little variation in yearly total biomass clear in the ecosystem if the ecosystem contains very numerous type of organism, that means very rich in biodiversity. It was also confirmed that from his long-term experiments in large-sized outdoor plants. And last is the resilience. That means the more the increased biodiversity, more it is resilient to the various natural disturbances, invasion of alien species, man-made disturbances. It is more stable and it can be resilient to this type of disturbances if their species diversity is more. So we can easily understand, because if the species diversity is more, you can see that if there is any harm, suppose a particular organism came and harming, alien species came and harming a particular, it is consuming a particular organism. So what will happen? There may be other organisms which may consume this alien species, or if these consumes of the alien species consume there are many other organisms which the alien species does not consume. So ultimately this ecosystem will stay clear more. And the stability is also, if there is drought or there is any, so they will be resilient. And stability also, because there are various types of organisms, so if one is affected, other will be there. So overall biomass will not be affected very much if there are various types of organisms, because disturbance may cause decrease in a particular type of organism generally, but many other type of organism will survive, and as a result they will maintain a stable productivity clear throughout the year. And ecosystem health, it is often believed that if there is an extinction of a small group like ant, now from 20,000 let it be, the species diversity in the ant may decrease to 15,000, or if there is the tree frog which is present in Western Ghats may disappear completely, there may not be much harm to the ecosystem. Clear? But actually apparently it might appear that there will be no difference but for some time. But rich biodiversity is not only essential for an ecosystem health. Clear? It is also very essential for the survival of the human race on the earth, because more the diversity, more the number of species, higher the number of niches, clear, and more the interaction and more interrelationship. So if one is not there, other is there will be more interrelationship, more interaction. And suppose if we are considering a food chain, clear? So if it is a food web, it is more stable than a food chain, because if one organism in the food chain becomes extinct, in food web, the consumer of this organism have the other alternative forms. But if that is extinct, if it is only a food chain is going on, then if one organism is becomes extinct, then the other organism which are depending on it will totally be extinct. So you can easily see that this interaction and more interrelationship is very important for the survival of the not only the various types of organism, even for the humans also. So David Paul Ehrlich. So, Paul Ehrlich, here he proposed Vivek-Popper hypothesis, because now this will explain this term, that is, the larger number of species, higher the number of niches, and higher the number of niches means more interaction, and finally the more interrelationship. Clear? So this can be explained by Paul Ehrlich by his Vivek-Popper hypothesis. In this hypothesis, he compared the whole ecosystem on Earth as a aeroplane, and which has numerous rivets everywhere, which are similar to the large number of species which are present in an ecosystem. Now, if the passengers popping the rivers and taking them to home, if the passenger now started to popping the rivets and taking them to the home, that means which can be comparable to the extinction of each and every species, because rivet are compared to the species, variety of species. Clear? So taking home the rivet means the extinction of some species. It may not affect flight safety at the beginning, but soon what will happen? This interrelationship, because since more the diversity, more is the interrelationship. Clear? And so this may help to maintain the stability. But if, like the rivet species goes on extinction, so at first there will be no remarkable, we will not feel very remarkably, but as it will go on, this will affect that our whole ecosystem will be dangerously affected, because every organism is somehow related to some other organism by their food chain, food web. So if these go on extinction, so other organisms which are lying in the higher trophic level will, if they get the alternative food resource, otherwise they will go on extinction. So ultimately what will happen? Loss of key rivets as on wings would result in the whole crash of the, so higher or level trophic levels, as well as very important trophic level now starts with the extinction, and as a result, like that of the aeroplane will crash, our ecosystem will also crash if this goes on. So it is very important for the health of the ecosystem is also. Diversity is very much required. So we can sum it up with a very simply, we can describe the whole thing. Suppose there is an ecosystem and these are the plants are the producers. Clear? So suppose there are grasses. Clear? These grasses will be eaten by the grasshopper will be eaten by frog, and frog will be eaten by snake. Now there is another certain herbs are also there which may be also eaten by the grasshopper as well as the mosquitoes. Clear? And so grasshopper can eat the grass as well as it can have the small herbs, or these mosquitoes also can suck the juice of the grass as well as small herbs. Clear? Now these mosquitoes, they can be eaten by frog or toad. Clear? So frog or toad can eat grasshopper as well as frog, as well as mosquito, and they may be eaten by the tertiary consumer, that is the snake. So suppose if this alternative line is not there, so if any of these primary, secondary or the producer is extinct, the whole food chain will shatter. Clear? So if there is no grasshopper, then frog will not survive. If there is no frog, the snake will not survive. But if there is any alternative source, like the diversification is there, then instead of grasshopper, the frog can have mosquito to eat. Clear? And when there are frog and toad, so instead of frog, it can have toad to it. So more the diversification, more is the stability of the ecosystem. The ecosystem will be more stable. If there is any alien invasion and it is any of these organisms, suppose mosquito is completely washed off, then also this frog, toad, they will survive as because the grasshopper is here. So more the diversification, more is the stability, more is the resilience, clear, and more is the support to the ecosystem health.